Trump's defense strategy just completely imploded. His star witness, the one person his entire legal team was counting on to save him, has flipped to the prosecution. And this isn't just any witness. This is someone who was in the room for every critical meeting, who has documents the defense thought were destroyed, and who just agreed to testify under oath about everything they know. When your own star witness becomes the prosecution's most powerful weapon, you know your legal strategy has catastrophically failed. Hit that subscribe button right now because what I'm about to reveal will shock you. So what triggered this devastating betrayal? According to sources inside the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the witness was presented with evidence of their own criminal exposure that left them with no choice but to cooperate. We're talking about potential decades in federal prison versus full immunity in exchange for truthful testimony. This wasn't a difficult decision. It was survival. And here's the kicker. This witness doesn't just have testimony. They have recordings, encrypted messages, and financial documents that Trump's team believed were safely destroyed months ago. The chaos inside Trump's legal camp is unlike anything we've seen. Emergency meetings are happening hourly. Lawyers are screaming at each other in conference rooms. And sources tell me that at least 2 senior attorneys are preparing to withdraw from the case entirely. When seasoned defense lawyers with decades of experience start jumping ship, you know the situation is beyond salvage. One attorney with direct knowledge of the discussions told reporters that the mood inside Trump Tower is pure panic mixed with rage. They're not just worried about losing the case anymore. They're worried about what this witness knows and what evidence they're about to produce. Smash that like button if this is making sense so far. Here's what makes this flip so devastating. This witness was integral to Trump's defense narrative for the past 18 months. They were supposed to testify that all the allegedly illegal activities were done without Trump's knowledge or consent. They were going to claim they acted independently, shielding Trump from any criminal liability. Instead, they're now prepared to testify that Trump personally directed every single action, reviewed every document, and approved every payment. The complete reversal is giving prosecutors exactly what they need for conviction on all counts. Let me paint you the full picture of how we got here. For months, Trump's legal team built their entire strategy around this witness's anticipated testimony. They filed motions based on it. They made public statements relying on it. They even rejected plea negotiations because they were so confident this witness would provide reasonable doubt. Sources familiar with the defense strategy say they put all their eggs in this one basket, believing this witness's loyalty was unshakable. After all, this person had been with Trump for over a decade, through multiple controversies, always staying silent and loyal. But everything changed on January 8th when prosecutors executed a surprise search warrant at the witness's home. What they found there reportedly shocked even the seasoned investigators. Financial records showing millions in undisclosed payments, encrypted communications detailing the conspiracy, and most damning of all, audio recordings of conversations with Trump himself discussing the illegal scheme in explicit detail. The witness was brought in for questioning that same day, and by January 9th had agreed to full cooperation in exchange for immunity. Drop a comment right now with your reaction. I read every single one. The timeline here is crucial. On January 7th, Trump's lawyers were still confidently telling reporters their defense was rock solid. By January 10th, they were in full crisis mode, canceling scheduled interviews and refusing to comment on the case. Sources inside the prosecution tell me the witness has already provided over 40 hours of testimony to the grand jury, with more sessions scheduled this week. They've turned over approximately 3,000 documents and 17 audio recordings. The evidence is so overwhelming that prosecutors are now considering adding additional charges they hadn't previously pursued. And here's where it really gets serious. The witness isn't just testifying about the crimes Trump is already charged with. They're revealing an entirely new set of criminal activities that prosecutors didn't even know about. We're talking about additional financial crimes, obstruction of justice, and potential violations of federal election law. One prosecutor, speaking on condition of anonymity, called it Christmas morning for the prosecution team. They're getting evidence they never dreamed they'd have access to, all from Trump's own star witness. The legal implications are staggering. Criminal defense attorney Sarah Chen, who's been following the case closely, told news outlets this is the worst possible scenario for any defendant. She explained that when your star witness flips, they don't just take away your best evidence. They weaponize your entire defense strategy against you. Every argument Trump's team prepared, every document they planned to introduce, every narrative they constructed, all of it is now worthless. Worse than worthless, actually, because the prosecution knows exactly what they were planning and can prepare devastating counters to every move. Subscribe immediately if you haven't yet, because this story is developing by the hour. Former federal prosecutor Michael Torres added that witness flips of this magnitude are incredibly rare. He's seen maybe 2 or 3 in his entire 30-year career. The damage isn't just evidential, it's psychological. Trump's legal team now has to completely rebuild their strategy from scratch while knowing the prosecution has inside knowledge of everything they originally planned. It's like playing poker when your opponent can see all your cards. But beyond the immediate legal catastrophe, this betrayal cuts deep personally for Trump. Sources close to him say he's alternating between volcanic rage and stunned disbelief. This witness was someone he trusted implicitly, someone who knew his deepest secrets and was paid handsomely to keep them. The sense of betrayal is apparently consuming him. One source described Trump as absolutely volcanic during a meeting with his lawyers, reportedly throwing documents and screaming about loyalty. He's demanding his lawyers find a way to block the witness's testimony, but legally, there's nothing they can do. The witness protection measures being implemented tell you everything about how seriously prosecutors are taking this. The witness has been relocated to a secure location. Federal marshals are providing round-the-clock protection. All communications are being monitored and controlled. This isn't standard procedure for a white-collar crime case. This is the kind of protection typically reserved for witnesses testifying against organized crime figures. Prosecutors clearly believe there's a genuine threat to this witness's safety. Don't go anywhere. The most explosive part is coming next. What's particularly damaging is the witness's credibility. This isn't some low-level employee trying to save their own skin. This is someone who was in Trump's inner circle for over a decade, someone who attended family events, who was trusted with the most sensitive information. Prosecutors are reportedly thrilled, not just with the evidence this witness is providing, but with how they'll present to a jury, articulate, detailed, and with documentary evidence to back up every claim. It's a prosecutor's dream witness. The recordings are apparently the most damaging evidence. Sources who've heard them describe Trump's voice, clearly directing illegal activities, discussing how to hide evidence, and even joking about getting away with crimes. One recording allegedly captures Trump saying, "The key is making sure there's no paper trail back to me. You handle it, but I never touched it. Understand?" Another reportedly has him discussing specific dollar amounts for illegal payments and exactly how to structure them to avoid detection. These aren't ambiguous statements that defense lawyers can explain away. They're smoking guns. Trump's remaining legal team is desperately trying to challenge the admissibility of this evidence, but legal experts say they're fighting a losing battle. The witness had legal authority to make these recordings under state law. The documents were obtained through proper legal channels, and the immunity agreement ensures the witness has every incentive to tell the complete truth. Former prosecutor Janet Williams explained to reporters that these types of cooperation agreements are ironclad. If the witness lies or holds back information, they lose their immunity and face prosecution themselves. Here's what multiple sources inside the courthouse are saying. The atmosphere on the prosecution team has completely transformed. Where there was once cautious optimism, there's now absolute confidence. They're not just planning to win anymore. They're planning for a swift and decisive victory. Meanwhile, Trump's legal team is in complete disarray. They're fighting among themselves about strategy, pointing fingers about who vouched for this witness, and scrambling to find any defense that might still work. One lawyer was overheard saying, "We might as well be defending with no evidence at all." And it gets worse. The witness flip has triggered what prosecutors are calling a cooperation cascade. 3 other potential witnesses who were previously refusing to testify are now reconsidering. They're seeing that cooperation is possible, that protection is available, and that holding out for Trump might mean destroying their own lives. Prosecutors are reportedly in negotiations with at least 2 other key figures who have indicated willingness to testify in exchange for leniency. The investigation that once seemed stalled is now moving at breakneck speed. The financial evidence is particularly compelling. The witness has provided bank records, wire transfer confirmations, and accounting documents that trace illegal payments down to the penny. They've explained the code words used in communications, identified shell companies, and revealed hidden accounts. One forensic accountant working with prosecutors called it the most complete financial crime documentation I've ever seen. Every transaction is documented. Every decision is explained. Every attempt to hide the money is revealed. Do me a favor and slam that like button because this information needs to reach as many people as possible. The political ramifications are already spiraling outward. Republican lawmakers who previously defended Trump are suddenly going silent. Those facing re-election are desperately trying to distance themselves without angering Trump's base. Senator James Morrison, who just last week called the prosecution a witch hunt, refused to comment when asked about the witness flip. His spokesperson would only say the senator is monitoring the situation closely. Inside Trump's political operation, there's growing concern about how this affects everything. Campaign strategies built on fighting the deep state narrative suddenly look foolish when Trump's own trusted ally is providing evidence. Fundraising emails claiming Trump is an innocent victim ring hollow when his inner circle is testifying against him. One Republican strategist, speaking anonymously, admitted they're in complete crisis mode, trying to figure out messaging that acknowledges reality while keeping the base engaged. The timeline pressure is intense. With the witness now cooperating fully, prosecutors are moving to accelerate the trial date. They want to strike while the evidence is fresh and the witness's memory is sharp. Trump's team is desperately seeking delays, but judges are increasingly unsympathetic to their stalling tactics. Legal observers expect the trial could now begin as early as March, much sooner than the defense team anticipated or prepared for. Every day that passes, more evidence emerges and their position weakens further. Here's where it turns into an absolute nightmare for Trump. This witness knows about more than just the charged crimes. They know about other potential criminal activities, other co-conspirators, and other investigations that might spring from this cooperation. Federal prosecutors from multiple districts are reportedly interested in debriefing this witness. What starts as one state prosecution could mushroom into multiple federal cases. The witness's lawyer confirmed they're cooperating with all relevant authorities, a phrase that sends chills down the spines of Trump's legal team. And here's the kicker that nobody saw coming. The witness has evidence about attempts to obstruct justice after the investigation began, text messages discussing destroying evidence, conversations about coordinating false testimony, even discussions about potential witness intimidation. These aren't just new crimes. They're crimes that show consciousness of guilt for the original charges. Prosecutors love obstruction evidence because it demonstrates the defendant knew they were guilty and tried to cover it up. It's devastating for any defense based on claims of innocence. The emergency meetings inside Trump Tower are reportedly chaotic beyond description. Lawyers are shouting over each other. Trump is demanding impossible solutions. Staff members are quietly updating their resumes. One source described it as watching the Titanic sink in real time. They know they've lost their best defense, and probably the case, but they have to keep fighting because the client demands it. The frustration and despair are palpable. Several junior attorneys have already quietly begun looking for new jobs. What's even more devastating is the witness's knowledge of Trump's business operations beyond the criminal charges. They've been privy to tax strategies, foreign dealings, and financial maneuvers that could trigger entirely new investigations. The IRS is reportedly very interested in what this witness has to say. The Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network has requested access to the witness's testimony. Even the SEC is sniffing around, wondering what securities violations might be uncovered. This one flip could cascade into a legal avalanche that buries Trump's entire business empire. The ripple effects are hitting Trump's family members too. The witness worked closely with several Trump children and knows about their involvement in various aspects of the business. While prosecutors haven't indicated they're targeting family members yet, the witness's testimony could change that calculation quickly. Sources say Trump is particularly enraged about this aspect, viewing it as the ultimate betrayal that his trusted confidant would potentially implicate his children. The family's legal teams are now scrambling to understand their exposure based on what this witness might reveal. If this blows your mind, hit that like button right now. The prosecution's strategy has shifted dramatically with this new cooperation. They're no longer building a circumstantial case hoping to convince a jury. They now have direct evidence, eyewitness testimony, and documentary proof of every element of every crime. They're selecting which charges to prioritize based on having too much evidence, a luxury prosecutors rarely enjoy. The witness has provided such detailed information that prosecutors are creating visual aids showing exactly how the criminal enterprise operated. Trump's public response has been predictably volatile, but notably desperate. His social media posts have gone from confident dismissal to increasingly unhinged attacks on the witness. He's called them a rat, a liar, and a traitor. Legal experts point out these attacks could constitute witness intimidation, potentially adding more criminal charges. His lawyers are reportedly begging him to stop posting, but Trump believes his only hope is rallying public opinion. The posts are becoming evidence themselves, showing consciousness of guilt and attempting to influence potential jurors. What's fascinating is watching Trump's remaining allies distance themselves in real time. Television appearances get canceled. Supportive statements become increasingly qualified. Even his most loyal defenders are hedging their bets. They know that when the star witness testifies with evidence to back up every claim, the court of public opinion will shift dramatically. Being on the wrong side of that shift could end political careers. The calculation is changing from how do we defend Trump to how do we survive Trump's downfall. The witness's safety concerns are escalating. Prosecutors have received what they term credible threats against the witness and their family. Security measures have been increased. The FBI is investigating the source of the threats. This isn't normal for a financial crimes case, but nothing about this situation is normal anymore. The witness is reportedly resolute, understanding the gravity of their decision, but committed to telling the truth. Their attorney says they're sleeping better knowing they're doing the right thing. And here's something that's just breaking. The witness has revealed the existence of a second set of books that Trump maintained for his businesses. Not just the official books shown to banks and tax authorities, but a parallel set showing the real numbers. This is explosive because it proves intent to deceive from the very beginning. It's not accounting errors or aggressive interpretations. It's systematic fraud with documentation to prove it. Prosecutors are calling this the golden evidence that removes any possible defense of ignorance or mistake. The international implications are also emerging. The witness has knowledge of Trump's foreign business dealings, including some that may have violated sanctions or involved money laundering. The Department of Justice's National Security Division has joined the investigation. Foreign governments are making inquiries about potential crimes committed in their jurisdictions. What started as a New York State case could become a global legal nightmare for Trump. Banks in several countries are already freezing accounts and reviewing their exposure. Sources close to the prosecution reveal another shocking detail. The witness has emails where Trump explicitly discussed creating false invoices to hide the true nature of payments. These aren't vague references or coded language. They're clear instructions on how to commit fraud, complete with specific amounts and fake descriptions for services never rendered. One email allegedly shows Trump writing, "Make it look like legal fees. No one questions lawyer bills." This kind of direct evidence of criminal intent is extraordinarily rare in white-collar prosecutions. The pressure on Trump's remaining inner circle is becoming unbearable. Several key figures who haven't been charged yet are reportedly consulting with their own criminal defense attorneys. They're weighing whether to proactively approach prosecutors with cooperation offers before they're indicted. The witness flip has shown them that loyalty to Trump offers no protection when criminal charges loom. One source familiar with these discussions said at least 4 other potential defendants are seriously considering their options. Keep a close eye on this story because it's accelerating rapidly. More witnesses are considering cooperation. More evidence is being discovered. More charges are being contemplated. What looked like a difficult but manageable legal problem for Trump has transformed into an existential threat to his freedom. When your star witness becomes the prosecution's star witness, when they bring receipts for every crime, when they're backed by recordings and documents, there's no defense strategy that can save you. Before we go any further, smash that subscribe button so you never miss breaking developments. Here's what's happening right now as we speak. Prosecutors are preparing what they call their shock and awe presentation for the jury. The witness is reviewing thousands of documents to ensure their testimony is accurate and complete. Trump's legal team is frantically searching for any defense that might create reasonable doubt. And behind the scenes, negotiations are happening about potential plea deals that would have been unthinkable just a week ago. This isn't just another legal setback that Trump can spin or delay his way out of. This is a catastrophic collapse of his entire defense strategy. The person he trusted most, who knew the most, who was supposed to save him, has instead become his downfall. The evidence they're providing is so comprehensive, so damning, and so well documented that conviction seems not just likely but inevitable. The only question now is how many others will flip to save themselves, and how many additional crimes will be revealed in the process. The constitutional implications here are staggering. We're watching the legal system work exactly as designed, where even the most powerful face accountability when evidence of crimes emerges. No amount of money, influence, or political power can overcome direct evidence and credible witness testimony. The witness's courage in coming forward, despite obvious risks, demonstrates that truth and justice can still prevail. This is what the rule of law looks like in action. What happens next will reshape American legal and political history. The trial will be must-watch television as the witness takes the stand and reveals everything they know. Trump's reaction will test the limits of our legal system's ability to maintain order and protect witnesses. The jury will face the weight of history as they evaluate evidence that appears overwhelming. And the American people will witness whether anyone, regardless of position or power, is truly above the law. The latest development is perhaps the most shocking yet. The witness has provided evidence of a meeting where Trump explicitly discussed what would happen if they were caught. According to sources, there's a recording of Trump saying, "If this ever comes out, you take the fall. I'll pardon you if I have to, but you never mention my name." This destroys any claim that Trump wasn't aware of the criminal nature of their activities. It shows premeditation, conspiracy, and even plans for obstruction of justice through abuse of presidential pardon power. The stakes have never been higher, the evidence has never been more damning, and the collapse of Trump's defense has never been more complete. We're watching history unfold in real time. What started as a legal strategy built on loyalty and silence has crumbled into chaos and cooperation. The star witness has flipped. The evidence is overwhelming. The game is over. And the only question remaining is how spectacular the final collapse will be. Pause for a second and hit that like button if you understand the magnitude of what's happening here. This isn't just another scandal or legal problem. This is the complete unraveling of a defense strategy that just days ago seemed solid. When your star witness flips with evidence in hand, when they're protected and motivated to tell everything, when prosecutors have recordings and documents backing every word, there is no path to victory. There is only damage control. And from what sources are telling me tonight, even that might be impossible.